Bueno, hola.
Hello, everybody. My name is Paloma Rando. For those of you who don't know about me, thank you for being here, and thank you for watching Elsbeth, one of the best new series in Movistar. Before introducing Carrie Preston, I would love to introduce Íñigo Rojaola, Director of Contents for Movistar Plus. He's going to tell us a lot about their catalog, series, movies, documentaries, all fiction. And, I give you the floor, Íñigo. Thank you, Paloma. Thank you, everybody. And thank you to the marketing and press teams. And thank you to this venue for organizing this event. We have a huge catalog of series, and but I wanted to tell you why we chose Elsbeth. In the screenings in June, when they were presenting some products, we already wanted to catch Elsbeth because something was telling us that it was going to be a good choice. We already had the series where the character was on, The Good Fight. So it was some kind of entertainment pandemic. And also in Movistar, we can see those series through sci-fi. So we knew it was gonna set a difference, but when we saw the pilot, we fell in love. Carrie Preston is amazing in this role. The Kings have made a great job writing this character, and besides, there was something that we really loved, that the apparent simplicity. That's what we were looking for. We wanted to find that happy place. We were talking about these. We also we also say that it's some kind of cookie procedural. And also a deluxe procedural, because we are going to see it has all these guest stars. And we are great fans of Colombo. So we could see that. We saw that she is really the great heir of Colombo. So, and I don't want to take much more of your time, but I also wanted to tell you that if you don't know where you can watch Elsbeth, obviously it's in Movistar Plus where you can watch it, and it's very easy to subscribe right now. It's just like any other platform, like Netflix, like HBO Max. Just for €9 a month, you have access to many series. And briefly, we will have new contents as well. And for those of you who love movies, we have one premiere a day, a lot of documentaries, also sports events. I just wanted to let you know, for those of you who don't know, this is a service that you can access. That's all. Thank you very much. Thank you, Paloma. We're going to have a great time with you. Yes, I hope so. The only thing I want to tell you now, for those of you who are here, I hope that nobody has committed crime, and that you won't either in the next hour, because as you know, Elsbeth catches all guilty people. So just to prove our innocence and also how eager we were to have her here, let's give her a round of applause.
Hi.
Hola. That's all I know. Sorry. That's it.
You have the okay. Bueno, voy a hacer una pequeña presentación.
I'm going to give a brief introduction. You know her very well because we're here to talk about Elsbeth, but we need to acknowledge her whole career. for the first time, she was working in 1985. We've seen her in movies like My Best Friend's Wedding, Perfect Women, Transamerica, Vicky Cristina, Barcelona. By the way, she came to Barcelona to film that movie. And then The Holdovers as well, the Alexander Payne movie that received so many awards, and also series, so many series, 800 series, Sex in the City, Spin City, Desperate Housewives, Person of Interest, so many series. But maybe, probably the most popular role, except for Elsbeth, is her True Blood character, the waitress that worked with Sukista's house at the Merlot. And a few years after True Blood, and after facing those creatures, vampires, all the creatures in that show, she started working with lawyers, and I think that that's a joke in itself. Then we met Elsbeth Tascioni 14 years ago, so long ago, in the first season of The Good Fight. The first episode was episode 20. She went in Alicia Florrick's house, and she took her cell phone, and she was taking pictures of the house. And one of the first things she said was, she told Alicia, "Oh, you have such a good taste in colors. I like mixing orange and red," and so we could already see how the character was gonna be. In that same episode, Peter Florrick, who she was helping, said, "Well, I don't trust her." And Lyle said, "Her boss told me that everybody underestimates her." Another important piece of information. And then in the next episode, after one of her first good moments, Lyle Gold said, How did you find out about that? How are you ahead of the police?" And she said, "I look where other people aren't looking." So with just a couple of episodes in The Good Wife, we already had the three main features of Elsbeth: her love for bright colors, everybody underestimating her, and also that she was always ahead of everybody else. I don't know if you remember The Good Wife, but we remember Elsbeth Tascioni in that show, but she was only there in 14 episodes out of more than 500. So her character was very important, very relevant. She won an Emmy in 2013, and she got her a place in The Good Fight, where she was in 5 episodes, and she directed 2 episodes, because in that case she was not only playing the character but directing. And then she got her first main role in Elsbeth. The last episode in the season is the one we're gonna see after this conversation here. But now we have 45 minutes with Carrie before sharing 45 minutes with Elsbeth. So now I give you the floor. Thank you very much for being here, Carrie. We love you.
Hello, that was so interesting to be hearing you speaking in Spanish and then hearing my own life flash before my eyes in English. It was very strange.
In another language.
Exactly.
Yo voy a hacer las preguntas en español de todas maneras para que...
Yes, I'm going to ask the questions in Spanish, just so you know. And as I said before, we met Elsbeth Tascioni 14 years ago. But I would like to know how and when you met Elsbeth. Did you audition for the role? Did you know the Kings personally? How did you get in touch with the character, and how did you start playing the role 14 years ago?
Thank you. I was so fortunate at that point in my career that Robert and Michelle King, who created the show, had seen me in another movie.
Which one?
It was called Duplicity. Okay. It had Julia Roberts and Clive Owen, and I had just a small cameo, 2 or 3 scenes, but they were great scenes. And they had seen me in that, and they thought, she might be right for this role that we're writing called Elsbeth. Usually at that point in my career, I had to audition a lot. I mean, I still do, but sometimes, but at that point I was definitely auditioning all the time. So to get a direct offer was huge, you know, and very exciting. But also you get a little nervous because when you audition, you're showing them, this is what I will do with this role if you give it to me. When they just offer it to you, then you show up and they could go, that's not what we wanted. That wasn't quite right. And so you get nervous, right? So I was very nervous because I knew with this role that it was extraordinary, and that it really needed to have somebody rise up to the writing. And so I felt very fortunate that they trusted me with it. Put this back in.
¿Sabías que el personaje?
Did you know that the character would continue after the first season? Because it's true that in the rest of the first season, she's not there again, not only until the third season. So did you know that it was going to be a recurring character, that it will appear again?
I did not know, and they write a lot of characters on those shows that do come back. If you watched The Good Wife and The Good Fight, they would bring on a character, they would like the character, and then they would write again. So as an actor, when you come on as a guest, you hope, I hope they like what I'm doing, and they'll invite me back. So I came on, I did those episodes that you described, and I thought, okay, I think that went okay. And then nothing. Crickets, nothing. And I thought, oh no, I was terrible. They didn't like what I did. Oh no, I messed this up. Okay. And I had this whole mourning process where I had to think, okay, well, I guess I won't play that again, and just let that go. And then, like you said, a whole season goes by, and then the next season, I really wasn't even thinking about it, and they said, we want to bring you back as Elsbeth. I was like, oh, thank God. So, and then that led to more and more, yeah.
Tu personaje...
Your character, as I said before, was on 14 episodes out of 156 in The Good Wife, and in 5 episodes out of 60 in The Good Fight. It's less than 10% of the episodes in those series, but it is one of the characters, nonetheless, that most people remember. How do you think that you got that relevance of the character? Why do you think that everybody remembers the character?
I mean, I think it's the writing to begin with. The writing is so good for this character, and then it's that thing where if you have good writing and then you have an actor that brings something to the writing, then they meet up. They meet up somehow, and there's chemistry. There's an alchemy there that is like a combustive, something that people go, that's a good combination. And, I've done a lot of roles and been a part of a lot of wonderful projects, but for some reason, this one really just sparked. And I think it is that relationship between what's on the page and then what I try to bring to what's on the page.
Okay.
Yeah.
¿Y cuándo?
And when did you realize that your character had that great potential for a spin-off? Did you realize even before they suggested that to you, or they suggested before you could even think of that opportunity?
I was doing this show for, a couple of seasons, and some people, like fans and people like yourself, journalists, started suggesting it. And so they would suggest, why don't we do a show that's centered around Elsbeth? And Robert and Michelle King, who created The Good Wife, The Good Fight, they would come to me, are you interested in this? Of course I'm interested in that. Yes. And then nothing would happen. And then time would go by, and then somebody would suggest it again, and they would call, are you interested? Yes. Nothing. And then they did The Good Fight, which was centered around Diane Lockhart, played by the brilliant Christine Baranski. And so that happened, and then they said, "Will you come do a couple of episodes?" And I was fine with that. And then they, like you said, let me direct, which was a real honor. But I never ever really dared to dream that this would actually happen. I thought, it's just talk, and it's a great idea for, that would be lovely, but that's probably not going to happen, because that kind of thing just doesn't really happen that much. And so then when it finally did, I'm still pinching myself.
And in these 14 years that you've been playing Elsbeth Tascioni, how do you think that the character has changed, has evolved, if it has? Have you changed the way you play her, and do you think that the character has evolved during the 3 series?
I hope that she's evolved in the same way that I've evolved. She's now that we're spending a lot of time with her, we get to see her in quiet moments. We get to learn about her family life. We get to see her with friends, things like that. When I was on The Good Wife and The Good Fight, I was pretty much there to, serve that story, to be there, to be, to help support those characters. And now that she's the center of things, I'm learning about her every time I play her, new things. The writers are giving me new things to play, new situations. The show in and of itself is new because it's not a legal show, it's a police show. So, that in and of itself is surprising and new. My character's in a different city than she was in the other 2 shows. So there's a richness to what I've been trusted with, and I hope that it will get deeper and richer as we go along.
Okay, Elsbeth.
Elsbeth always, as Eli Golden was saying in The Good Wife, Elsbeth is always underestimated. And I've heard you saying that's one of her superpowers, that you consider that to be a superpower. Do you think that as an actress, something similar has happened to you?
I do sometimes feel like I have a superpower. No, I do feel like, in Hollywood, generally, the lead roles will go to, younger people, maybe people who are movie stars or that kind of thing. And so I feel like maybe no one expected me to be given a lead in a TV show, so I do a little bit feel like I was blessed with some kind of superpower that I got to have that opportunity. That's how I'll answer that.
And you've faced your first main role on TV with Elsbeth. Was that one of your aspirations in your career? Was it like a secret dream you had, or you thought that something like that would never happen?
I was very happy. I am very happy in my career. I feel very blessed with the kinds of roles that I've gotten to play. I think of myself as somebody who can play a bunch of different things. I like to think of myself as somebody who can transform. One time somebody called me an illusionist. And that was the biggest compliment I've ever had, somebody to say that to me, because that means that they're not thinking about me, the actor, they're thinking about the character. And so of course I thought, that would be fun to play a lead in a TV show. I would like to see what that felt like, but I wouldn't have had a big heartbreak had it not happened. I've been doing this a long time, and I've had a lot of wonderful experiences, and so the fact that it has happened at this point in my career, at this age that I am, at how long I've been doing this, how long I've been loving it, working hard at it, trying to, do the best job that I can. The fact that it's happening now is very humbling, and it's not lost on me. I appreciate every moment because I know what it feels like to not have that. And I also have been a supporting player on so many different things, and sometimes there are some actors who do take that for granted, and I swore if I ever got in that position that I wouldn't, and that I would make sure that I was making this experience for everyone around me, not just myself, as joyful and as delightful and as I could. So that's my goal. My one goal is to play the role well, but also to make sure that everybody else around me feels ownership of that, and they feel like that they're having an incredible time too.
That's great.
You are, Elsbeth is the main character, but you're not alone in the series at all. You are there with Wendell Pierce and Carrie Preston, but in each episode we've seen many guest stars, very relevant guest stars. We've had Stephen Moyer, who was with you also in True Blood. We had Jane Krakowski. We had Ferguson, Keegan-Michael Key. And in the last episode that we're going to see, spoiler alert, we have Laura Benanti. So we really need you to tell us some anecdotes about about the shooting of those episodes with those important guest stars, some moments that you remember, especially with some of them.
Well, with the pilot, the first episode, I was, really excited, but also very nervous because, I wanted to make sure that it was going to be as good as we could get it, because, you want these pilots to be excellent so that the network will say, yes, we'll do a whole series based on that one episode. So that guest actor in that episode was extremely important. The main killer. And so they were trying to, the producers and everybody, they were trying to offer it out to several different actors, and I kept saying, I really think Stephen Moyer would be great. And they were like, okay, well, he's your friend, da da da. And I was like, no, but you don't understand, like, he's going to be perfect. And finally they agreed, and they brought him on, and that was so beautiful for me because I trust him so much, and I know him so well, and he's such a generous spirit. He has such a generous spirit, and so having him on set, it felt like I had a brother or a cousin or a relative there with me, and so that put me at ease, and I think it really helped us make a great pilot that got picked up. A lot of the other guest actors I hadn't worked with, but I was huge fans of, and so to show up with Jane Krakowski and climb a rock wall, both of us wearing harnesses, climbing a rock wall, or to play tennis with Blair Underwood. I hit him with a tennis ball. I'm sorry. Didn't mean to do that. Those were really fun. And then you'll see in the finale, Laura Benanti and we had to learn how to walk a catwalk, runway, be models, which I definitely am not. So, learning how to do fun things like that has been, such a joy with the role. It's, part of the physical comedy that I love to do. So.
Ya que mencionas la comedia.
And since you're mentioning comedy, it's true that many of these guest stars are basically comedy actors. Is that used for in the show, so the show is a comedy even if it's a crime show?
I think there are comedic elements to it, and the thing that I love about the way we're doing this show is that it's a drama. I mean, it's about murder, right? So it starts off being pretty dramatic, but it's almost like we're doing an episode of, do you guys have Law and Order here?
Yes.
It's like we're doing an episode of Law and Order, but a circus in the middle of it. So, which is my character. And in a way, that's reflective of what the show is about in some ways. This character, this woman, doesn't belong in this world. She doesn't belong in a police station. She's not a detective. She shouldn't be there.
Fish out of the water.
She's a fish out of water, and the show is as well. It's a comedy dropped in the middle of a drama. So I think the tension between those two things, hopefully, is what makes it fun to watch.
And something else about the series, something that changes compared to the other series where Elsbeth appeared on, is that Elsbeth moved from Chicago to New York. Law and Order, forgive me, but the title could be Murder in the City, like Sex and the City. What do you think that the city contributes to the series, since you live in New York yourself?
It's been really fun for me because I live in New York, and I've lived there for over 30 years. And, you know, when you live in a city, a great city, like you guys live in this incredible city, you get, you know, lost in your own business, right? You're just trying to get where you want to go, and you don't think about the beauty all around you. And so with Elsbeth, she really makes me appreciate the beauty of the city that I'm in. She makes me look up, you know, and see, oh, right, I do live right near the Empire State Building. Wow, what an incredible building, you know, or wow, I should really go to more dance or music or theater, that kind of thing. So, and I think also in the world of our show, which each episode explores, I don't know how you would say it in Spanish, but upper crust, like the white collar, the upper crust, the rich, you know.
That was my next question.
So, and there's a lot of that in New York City. So there will be many storylines to explore because of that. So I think that Robert and Michelle, who created the show, wanted to you know, bring that to light. You know, they've done these first two shows that were very political, and they wanted to make a show that was not political, even though there is something inherently political about rich people thinking they can get away with murder and crime, and then in this case they don't, because of, you know, this very unexpected woman taking them down. So it's a good comment, I think.
Sí, esa era mi siguiente.
Yes, that was my next question. Compared to other crime shows in New York, in this case, they are all those upper class crimes, and I think that's a social criticism as well. We have influencers, we have a reality show, we have all those contexts, and they are all like an elite, and they think that they can just not be guilty just because. Apart from The Good Fight, you've directed in your honor. Would you like to direct yourself in Elsbeth?
I love to direct. My first love obviously is acting, but even when I was a little girl, I was directing plays. Even when I was a little girl, I would, you know, direct the kids in the neighborhood in the front yard. So I have that in me. I was on a TV show, I think that played here on HBO called Claws, and that was where I first got to direct on television, but I was also in it. So I did direct myself, but I was not the lead. I was part of there were like 5 leads, so I was one of the 5 people, so I didn't have to be on camera the whole time. So I was able to do both. It was challenging, but I was able to do both. I feel like with Elsbeth, because I'm on camera so much, it would be really hard for me, I think, to, I would be torn between one job and the other. I would be, feeling like, oh, I'm not concentrating enough on my acting because I'm directing, or, oh, I'm not concentrating enough on the directing because I'm acting. So at this point, I'm just very happy to be playing this character and trying to play her as well as I can. That said, if we have the opportunity to do more than a couple of seasons, maybe I would be able to do that. But in television, you have to prepare to direct very quickly and a lot, and so I don't know how I would be acting and prepping, because the stuff that you do before you start shooting, the couple of weeks, your shot lists and picking locations, and just the endless amount of work that it takes. I don't know how I would do that and also memorize all those lines. So I think it would, if I did direct, have to be whatever the first episode of the season, because that way I could prep before. But even then, I think it would be quite the juggling.
We know, fortunately, that Elsbeth renewed for a second season that we will be able to watch in Movistar Plus as well. What can you tell us about this upcoming second season? Because we've heard something about the number of episodes and some more things. I don't know. What can you tell us about the second season?
We will do 20 episodes. Yes, so twice as many. Yes. So that's wonderful, and it's such a vote of confidence in us from the network. And so I don't know much about the storylines, except I did go, the writers have already started writing, so that's exciting, and we start shooting July 22nd, somewhere around there, so next month. So we're getting close to starting, but I did go and say hello to the writers, and Jonathan Tollins is our what we call a showrunner, and they're the ones that are in charge of the whole show and the writing and all of the writers, and so he was suggesting that we're obviously, because it's 20 episodes, we're gonna be able to delve more into Elsbeth's past. So I think we're gonna learn a little bit more about her in that way, and of course, I don't know who the guest stars are going to be, but they are going to, now that they've seen how well it plays when we have these incredible guest stars, and I think now that people have seen the show and that the show has an audience, maybe we're going to have more actors wanting to be on the show. Yeah, guest stars that are great.
Y hablando de las.
And speaking about guest stars, we can say that your family is employed by the Kings right now, basically, both you and Michael Emerson. So since you've been in Person of Interest, you've been in Lost, playing Ben's mom, could we get to see Michael Emerson in Elsbeth?
Do you think he should play my dad in a flashback? we gotta do that for each other, right? That would be too weird. That was when Lost. I made that as a joke on Lost. I was saying to Michael one day, I was like, they're gonna do your flashback one day. Wouldn't that be hilarious if I played your mom? And then, almost like the next week, it was like ring. And then I was giving birth to him in the jungle. Not very many people can say that they've given birth to their husbands. But no, I think he wants to be, do a guest spot. I think they would love to have him. So it's just a matter of them, finding the right part for him. And so, he better do it. If they offer it to him, he will.
And I don't want to spoil the case that we'll see in the last episode, but I am going to say something about it. It's the first episode where the Colombo formula is changed in a way. It's the first episode that starts without us knowing who the killer is. Do you think that the second season maybe is going to go towards that same line, maybe a Murder, She Wrote instead of Colombo?
Well, I wouldn't mind being compared to Jessica Fletcher as well. I think that the Jonathan Tollins, our showrunner, I think he did that by design on purpose, because he wanted the audience to think, oh, okay, I thought I knew what this show was. Maybe I don't. In the same way, oh, I thought I knew what Elsbeth was going to do, and then she doesn't. So he was messing up with the structure on purpose. So I think that then gives him and the writer's license to mess with the structure in season 2. I think they're still going to pretty much honor the Columbo thing, because that is fun, and I think the audiences like it. But also it keeps everybody, including them and myself, on their toes. Yeah.
And before opening the floor for the audience, I would like to ask one last question, which is, what the hell is Elsbeth carrying in all those bags?
I'm never gonna tell you. You know, it's so funny how many people are so curious about that. And you know, Elsbeth has been carrying those bags since the first time we ever saw her, and it just became part of her signature. I think that she's carrying anything that she thinks she might need to solve the case. So it could be, you know, a computer, a sandwich, an extra pair of shoes. It could be an abacus. Who knows with her? But if you'll notice now, whenever Elsbeth comes in and at the end to confront the killer after she's already figured out the crime, I decided that she's not carrying the bags anymore, because she doesn't need it. She knows, so she doesn't need any crutches.
Pues ahora llega el turno.
And now we're going to open the floor for the audience. We can have some questions. Any of your questions for Carrie? Whoever wants to speak. I see some hands over there.
You can remove them. I'm a little nervous. Hi, Carrie, I'm a huge fan. Here. Sorry. First of all, I want to thank you, Carrie, for giving us this character that I really identified with, because people tend to think that the person that a child is and wears colorful things, it's nice to everyone, is a dumb character, you know. They always underestimate the character, and it just never adds anything to the plot, and it's now time to shut the mouths and giving them something that you add to the plot. So thank you for that. And the question is, if you could pick any guest star to be the murders in season 2, which one would you choose? Anyone?
Well, first of all, thank you for saying that. I myself, I'm not afraid to wear color and you know, be crazy, do dye my hair, do things like that. And I think that people should do that. Whatever brings them joy, that's what they should do. And Elsbeth does that. You know, she inspires me that way. Like she's so positive and joyful about everything, and she's not afraid to, you know, bare her heart, say things, whatever's on her mind. And I think we should all have a little bit of Elsbeth in us. So if you relate to her, excellent. We're all doing our jobs on our end. As far as guests, I mean, we talked about my husband, obviously. I would want him to be on the show. You know, there's so many great New York actors. I love it that that our show and our showrunner, Jonathan, they love theater. And he's a big theater person. He writes plays, and his husband is a musical theater writer. And so he uses a lot of, we've been using a lot of actors that are theater, and then the finale you'll see these are two big theater actors. They've done film and TV, but they're big Broadway stars that are the leads. So I would like to see something like that. Bernadette Peters, or we had Linda Lavin, who was incredible. I'm a huge fan of Sarah Paulson. She's doing a Broadway show right now. I'd love to have her on the show. I mean, there's so many great actors, and we have a wonderful casting director who is also bringing us actors that in other parts that I didn't know before, so that's exciting, like in the detective roles or even just like guest spots. So for Wendell and Cara and myself, we're the three series regulars, and then we feel like we get new series regulars every week, every episode, because they write so well for these characters. So we feel like, oh, you're on the show now, and then we have to say goodbye to them, and that's always a little sad. But I think we've been blessed so far, and I assume that we will and hope that we will continue to be blessed.
Hello, Carrie. Thank you very much for coming to Madrid. It's a pleasure. We are very happy. My question is about food. It's strange, but I mean, any of the chapters, the 20 next chapters, will be any kind of murder relationship with food?
With food?
Eating or drinking something that is poison, or that happen anything?
I'm going to pass that on to the writers.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I don't know, but I'm assuming they will set something in the world of restaurant, because there are certain very exclusive restaurants that you have to belong to a club to even go and eat there. So I'm imagining that's going to be a great world for the show to explore. And we explored the bartending world in that one episode. So I bet you anything. I don't know, but I bet you that one of the first ones that we're going to do is going to be set in the foodie world. It's such a huge part of New York.
Tenemos otra pregunta por ahí. Hay otra aquí y luego hay.
Hello, I'm a big fan of you and
Hello.
and of the character itself, Elsbeth, and we can see her as like a lawyer and all that stuff. Do you think that job that we can see that Elsbeth like takes for granted, more or less, that there are various chapters in which we can see that she's a lawyer, and there are many people that say so we have very present that she's a lawyer. Do you think that contributes anything to how she resolves crimes, or how she thinks, more or less, or how do you think that is related?
I do, yes. I do think that's related, because there's a analytical way of thinking and looking at legal cases. You have to back it up with a great amount of details and facts, and you have to be somebody who's very smart, to be able to do as well as she has done as a lawyer, and the fact that on The Good Wife and The Good Fight, they would bring her on when nobody else could solve the case. So that speaks to what a genius she is. So that definitely translates then to the world of crime. And one thing that I'm loving about the series, Elsbeth, is that she says in the pilot, I'm all about the truth. And I think because as a lawyer, she was defending some pretty bad people, and I think she has a lot of guilt about that. And so she wants to kind of right some wrongs, make amends for some of the stuff that she maybe feels a little, upset about, defending people who did terrible things, and because she was so good, they got away with it. So she's trying to make sure that no one gets away with it. And that's why it was such a conflict for her relationship with Captain Wagner, because she's there to, make sure that, to investigate him. And then it turns out she finds that he's a really good person, and she doesn't want to do that. And I always try to add a little bit with each of the criminals that, she really doesn't want to put them away because she likes some of them, but ultimately she does the right thing. And so, yeah, I think she uses all of her legal skills to be a good detective.
Hi, Carrie. I'm also a huge fan of you. Right now, I'm a little bit starstruck, I have to admit. There's something you bring to the screen every time you appear, and doing Elsbeth, there's this quickness that you do, and something like amazing. It's always like on point, and I just wanted to acknowledge that. Saying that, I just wanted to ask you, we know that in The Good Wife, your secretary was called Fantasia, which was kind of an Easter egg to True Blood. I was wondering if you could expect some sort of cameo from someone in True Blood and play Fantasia or something like that.
I don't know if they're going to do that. They've specifically tried not to bring on, at least in season 1, any characters from The Good Wife and The Good Fight. I think they wanted to make sure that this show exists on its own. And I'm going to do a very Elsbeth thing and go back and say thank you very much for what you said at the beginning. Okay. Back to the other question that you asked. So I don't think that they will bring on Fantasia, but that said, maybe they're going to bring on, some character from the show. Maybe probably not like Diane Lockhart or something like that, but they might bring on, one of the many other characters they had in that world, because it was 14 years, and also just a little tidbit, for the 14 years of The Good Wife and The Good Fight, they made the decision they would never let an actor play any character other than the one that they played on the show, even if it was just one line. So you can imagine they went through a lot of actors. For 14 years, they would, some brilliant actor would come on and do one scene, and then they wouldn't ever cast them again. Whereas on Law and Order, I think I've done, I don't know how many episodes of Law and Order. I played some killers, some victims. I've, done all these, but they didn't do that on The Good Wife and The Good Fight. But then when they picked up Elsbeth, they said, okay, we can't do that because we've got 14 years worth of actors that we want to try to use again. So, right out of the gate, they brought on Jesse Tyler Ferguson. He had been on, Good Fight. And so I think now the world is open back up again for them to re-tap some of the same actors, but let them play different parts. So you might see some of the same actors even if they're playing different roles.
¿Alguna pregunta más?
In the series, we can see that there are a lot of different murder weapons. Like in the first episode, they use, I don't remember a lot, they use medicines. Do you think in some episode they would use a gun to kill, or do you think it would be less surprising and interesting?
That's a good question. I think, you will enjoy watching the finale. One of the great things about what the writers are doing, not necessarily with the weapon, but with whatever the clue is that Elsbeth uses, it always has to do with the world in which we're exploring. So, the tennis towel, or, things that have to do with the world they're exploring, the bartender ring, that kind of thing. So that helps them as writers because they can narrow it down. Otherwise, you could pick anything, but they want to make sure that it's all self-contained within that world. So I don't know. We've got 20 episodes, so they're probably going to be all kinds of interesting murder weapons and clues depending on what world it is that we're exploring that week. Thank you for the question. Adorable. I like it that younger people, I'm on something that young people can watch.
Hi. I would like to know what's your thought on the perfect amount of seasons for Elsbeth. Are you a bigger fan of a long run, like 10, 15 seasons, and having been like almost a household name? Or would you rather have 5 very good seasons and then jump to something else?
I see what you're asking. Well, I was on a lot of shows that had, they were on cable in the U.S., like True Blood, for example. So we never did more than 10 episodes, or 13, I think, was the most that we did per season. And that was a good schedule for an actor, because you're working like half the year. The hours are really long, so it does take some time. So I have never done a show that was 20 episodes in one season. So it's going to be a bit of a marathon. I'm not a kid anymore. So, the stamina that it takes to do that is, can be a little challenging. So I'm excited to rise to that challenge, but, talk to me in about 9 or 10 months and then I'll let you know. No, I'm just kidding. I really do think, I will play this role and do it as long as, people want to write it and people want to watch it. That's how much I love doing it and how blessed I feel, with this opportunity. So.
¿Tenemos alguna pregunta más?
Do we have any other question?
Agree with what was said before. I think what you said, that you like the actors to play with you, to have fun. I think it comes across. I'm thinking of the episode, I think it's number 6, when you are trying to locate, I think it's the spleen. And that seems quite hilarious. Anyway, my question was another one. There are some actors that hate looking at themselves on the screen, and some others that like to. So I was wondering, which one were you?
I definitely don't to do it. I like to watch the episode once because I want to see how it cut together. Because I'm also a director, and so I like to see what made the cut. Because you shoot a lot of stuff and then some stuff for time. It's always for time because especially with a show like this where they have to do it so precisely with the commercial breaks and all that stuff, that they have to lose some things. And so I'm always curious to see that. Sometimes I'm like, I don't want to look at my dumb face anymore. You start to feel that way about looking at yourself. But with this show, we shot the pilot, and then it was like a year before we started shooting because we had a strike. I don't know if y'all heard about these strikes that we had, the writers and the actors. And so the show got picked up to go to series, and then we had this long strike, and then finally we got to work. So then we started shooting, and then we weren't airing until like February. So I forgot these episodes. You know what I mean? I do these scenes. I have a lot to learn, and then I just get it out of the brain. The next thing, out of the brain, the next thing. And so it was fun to watch it once it finally started airing because I was like, oh, right, that scene. Oh, right, I remember that now, sort of. And so it was kind of fun to watch it, fresh, just storytelling-wise. But no, I'm pretty tired of looking at this. Pretty tired of it. I'm glad y'all like to look at it.
Tenemos oportunidad para hacer una última.
We have time for one last question. Do we have hands? We have someone over there? Well, these last two final questions, okay?
I think you make that we love everything, the clothes, the everything, and I like the voice. I like very much your voice, and it's just a request for you if you could tell us Elsbeth Tascioni for us.
Say the name.
Yeah, as you say in the yeah. Sorry, as you say in the series, because when everybody asks who are you or who is
Elsbeth Tascioni. Right, because you mostly do. I'm dubbed mostly when you watch, or you subtitle. Are you dubbed?
No, in English. Yes.
You watch it in English? Because I know somebody showed me a clip of.
It in English,
oh, okay. Because somebody showed me a clip of myself being dubbed, and it was great to hear. And I guess the actress who dubs me here, she also dubs Marge Simpson, which I found to be hilarious. I love that. Elsbeth and Marge Simpson, so that's good. A good combo.
Y la última pregunta por allí.
Hi again.
And the last question over there?
My question was if we could expect to meet Teddy soon in season 2 or something like your son in the show.
Uh-huh.
And who would you like to play, perhaps, if someone?
I think I'm not sure. Like I said, I don't know what's gonna happen with the writing, but I think since we're doing 20 episodes, at some point we probably should meet him because we talk about him all the time. And I think now that we're getting to know her a little more, I would imagine that the audience would want to meet Teddy. As far as who's going to play him, well, that should be a very interesting casting process. I'm not privy to all the casting. I just am blessed when people show up and I get to play with them. So I would imagine, though, with that, they might have me, if it's somebody who maybe doesn't have as many credits or something, they might have me read with him, or to see if there's a good connection there, which I'm happy to do. It'll be really fun if they do that, because it'll be educational for me, to see her as a mother in person instead of just hearing her talk about him. I mean, I think they've written some really beautiful stuff for me in relation to him. Just me talking about him, and you can tell that there's a great love there, but there's some heartache there too, and I don't know quite what that's about, but it feels like we're gonna maybe explore that more.
Bueno, pues vamos a ir terminando.
Well, we're going to close, but to finish, if Carrie doesn't mind, I will ask her now. The idea was to take a picture, all of us, with her, with your Study of Liberty hairbands. And first, let's give Carrie a round of applause.
Yeah. Like this? Oh, sure. Yeah. Everyone with their crown. Yes.
Juntaos si queréis.
Yes.
Acercaos. Come closer. ¿Aquí o aquí? Aquí, ¿no? Para tirar desde aquí. Digo, con nosotras así y el público, ¿no? ¿O ¿qué prefieres? Ya, pero